You are tuning in to the Round Table, live every Thursday, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 Pacific.
Right, what's going on, everybody? Peace out, boxing here, and I'm being joined by Maestro and Joe Habib. This is the 33rd edition of the Round Table. You're listening to archive right now. Hit that like button. Share this video on all your social media platforms. We have Javier Avila on here. He says, "Let's go, vamonos." No pauses, 8CP, and we got G Money 915. Russ does have a podcast. We'll let him plug that in. When he comes on, later in about 45 minutes or so. Right. A lot to talk about here. And we do have the phone lines open. The number is in the bottom. Okay. That's 718-618-4284. So call in, join the conversation. Let us know what you think as we proceed with the show here. I want to start off with the big announcement. The big announcement was, as everybody was feeling down, we got the bad news. No Undisputed at heavyweight. We're like, what's wrong with boxing? And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, like a shot in the arm, Pacquiao puts out a tweet. People are thinking, is he serious? But Pacquiao never plays around. He's not a troll like that. If he tweets something out like that, it means it's official. He ain't here to talk. No talks, no, nothing. Just boom, it's official, and that's it. Okay, no drama on Twitter, no Coppinger, saying that his sources told him that it's on and when it wasn't, nothing like that. Although Coppinger tweeted about it after the fact, saying his sources told him, but it's not here nor there, though. You know what I mean? Stiffen, how's it going, brother? How's it going? And we got Maestro doing double duty in the chat. Hey, Milcar, talk to us.
Sure.
What do you make of Pac versus Spence being announced? What's your opinion about this fight?
Well, it's funny because I've been doing lives with Kenny for a little over a year now. Kenny T, shout out to my homie from the Heights, Washington Heights. And he used to always say, "Oh, I want to see Pacquiao against Crawford. Oh, I want to see Pacquiao against Spence." And I'd be like, hold up, man. What do you want to get Pacquiao killed for? Pacquiao's done everything he needs to do in the sport of boxing. He's already one of the all-time greats. He's got nothing to prove. He's taken on bigger guys his whole career. Only need to be thinking about guys like Shea Mosley, Margarito, Cotto. Haddon was bigger than him. De La Hoya obviously was bigger than him. He doesn't need to do this. And it's funny because Keith one-time Thurman is the one who had me thinking, you know what? Maybe Pacquiao can take on these younger lions because he showed up for the Keith Thurman fight and he showed out at the Keith Thurman fight. And he proved that this 40-plus-year-old from the Philippines still has a lot left in the tank, which is amazing because I believe he's got over 70 fights in his career. A lot of tread on those tires. And he's still going strong, which is incredible. Now, interesting timing, because everybody here knows that Pac-Man is also a senator in the Philippines, his home country. He actually went back to school, got a university degree while boxing, while being a senator. And it's no secret that he wants to become president of the Philippines. And this is the greatest springboard of all to be able to make that jump to presidential politics, because guess what? You go out beating Errol Spence, that's a great way to start your campaign. You go out putting a competitive fight up against Errol Spence, that's also a great way to kickstart your campaign. So a year ago, I would have been like, this is a terrible matchup But now, call me crazy, but I'm actually pretty interested in it. You're on mute, I think, D-Style.
Beeb, how you feeling about the fight, brother? How do you feel about the fight?
Well, I got to tell you, I got egg on my face about this one because I made a statement about maybe a month ago, and I've been saying this even before then. I said, Manny Pacquiao will never, ever go near Terrence Crawford and Errol Spence, and appears he's going near Errol Spence. This is an outstanding move by Manny Pacquiao. This guy, what he's doing right now, one guy has his legacy set, but he continues to want to build on it. And you have Mayweather, who seems to be chipping away at his legacy with all these other fights that he's going through. So you have one guy who really still cares about his legacy, even though it's set. And you got another guy who seems to be wanting to diminish his legacy. So a lot of people are saying, will this put him close to the top or ahead of Mayweather and close to the top if he were to beat Spence? Well, definitely, he'll be in the argument for sure. We'll see what happens here. Errol Spence, when he fought Mikey Garcia, he kind of coasted in that fight. He didn't do he didn't have the same type of performance that we expected. So I'm just thinking how he's going to approach this fight, if he's going to have that same type of approach, because if he lays back even a second on Manny Pacquiao, he could get surprised, but obviously he's definitely going to be favored in this fight.
Yeah, absolutely. He should be favored. And, the thing that's interesting about this fight, though, is obviously there's the car accident. Obviously, there's the fact that Errol Spence has not really looked as dominant and as, indestructible as he did in the past. And look, Garcia went 12 rounds with him, right?
I'm saying, yeah.
He didn't get low. Actually, both Garcias went 12 rounds with him. I was about to say Danny Garcia second, but yeah, Danny Garcia didn't get out of there either. So I got to give Pac-Man a chance in this fight.
And Pacquiao hasn't been knocked out. He's only been knocked out one time in 21 years. The last 21 years.
Perfect, beautiful counter shot by Marquez.
Yeah.
Against someone who was very familiar with him at that. You know what I mean? Like Spence hasn't been in the ring with him for 3 fights, to kind of gather some of the things that he does. But I do want to say this, though. There is, some people that are not excited for this fight. There's some people saying, hey, Pacquiao's old, and the one thing that you didn't mention, Milcar, because you did say if he wins, if he puts up a great fight, what if he gets either dominated or clearly beat or knocked out and stopped? In that scenario, I still think Pacquiao comes out on top, and I'll explain to people why. Because at that point, you will martyr Pacquiao. That's what you would do.
Exactly.
Okay? That's the type of sympathy people had for, like, when Marciano beat Joe Louis. People felt bad for Joe Louis, but it martyred him a little bit. You know what I mean? Like, even Ali, when he lost to, he shouldn't have been in the ring anymore. Okay. Now, not so much Trevor Burbick at that point. It was kind of criminal, but
Larry Holmes,
against Larry Holmes, still, like, Pacquiao literally has nothing to lose and everything to gain. Calix Boxing just went viral with a video we did, 60,000 views. Shout out to Calix Boxing, out on vacation with his family, much deserved. So shout out to him. But he said Pacquiao's already a winner. Like, just doing this fight makes him a winner. Do you agree with that, Amilcar?
100%. And again, you got to look at it not just in the boxing context, but the political context. Whatever the outcome of this fight, it's a great promotional vehicle for his next step in life, which is his presidential campaign, and in his eyes, hopefully becoming president of the Philippines. Again, like you said, he gets martyred if he gets iced. If he puts up a great fight, he's a warrior. If he wins the fight, I'll be honest with you guys, I don't think you could fill up a hand with 5 guys that are better career-wise all time than Manny Pacquiao. If he wins at this age, the unified welterweight championship from Errol Spence Jr.
Man, let me tell you something. If Manny Pacquiao wins that fight, babe, I want to go to this one with you, to you first. I mean, the conversation's there. It's the elephant in the room. You know what I mean? If he wins that fight, does he surpass Mayweather, like legacy-wise, in your opinion?
Yes, in my opinion, he would. Most definitely.
So people are going to say, well, Mayweather beat him, so there's nothing he can do. Well, your answer to that is what?
Well, let me ask you a question.
Okay.
Tommy Hearns and Roberto Duran. Who would you put ahead? I would put Roberto Duran ahead of Tommy Hearns because
100%.
Duran, I would, yeah. And I'm high on Hearns, by the way. 4 Kings, you know what I mean?
Tommy Hearns knocked out Duran in 2 rounds.
They're smaller guys. He's a smaller guy than Mayweather.
And you know, like both Duran and Pacquiao started in low weight classes. People forget Roberto Duran turned pro at 119 pounds. And went all the way up to 175 at one point. Same thing with Pacquiao. Started at 106, right? I think 105, 106.
Right.
A minimum.
And he went all the way up to junior middleweight. And everyone he stepped in the ring with, he was smaller than, you know, and he was smaller than Mayweather. And you know, the fight was an 8-4 type fight with Mayweather. I walked away from that fight saying to myself, if these guys fought 10 times, maybe Mayweather would win 7 out of the 10. But it's not to say that Pacquiao on any given night could not beat Mayweather. I would say Mayweather is the better fighter of the two. But you know, Pacquiao deserves to be in the ring with Mayweather without question.
Absolutely.
How do you feel about it, Milcar?
I feel the same way. I mean, I already have Pacquiao ahead of Mayweather on my list of all-time great fighters. And the reason is simple. He's fought the best. He's always challenged himself. And he's got way more fights. So, yeah, when you fight that much more, you're going to have more losses. So, yes, you know, he got beat by Floyd. I mean, there were extenuating circumstances. We can talk about the denial of the shot, the cortisone shot in Pacquiao's shoulder. We can talk about the illegal IV fluid drip that Floyd was receiving prior to the fight. I mean, that's against Nevada State Athletic Commission rules. You're not allowed to have an IV drip, but Floyd was allowed to have it. Pacquiao wasn't allowed to have a cortisone shot, which actually you are allowed to have. So, I mean, there's extenuating circumstances there, but even putting that aside, Pacquiao's the smaller guy, and he's had the more spectacular wins by far. I mean, the check hook was great against Haddon. I mean, everyone acknowledges that. But, I mean, come on, guys. The Pac-Man knockout of Haddon, that was like one of the most vicious knockouts you'll ever see in boxing. And I can go through the list. Like, he dominated De La Hoya in a way that Mayweather did not. You know, he dominated Cotto in a way that Mayweather did not. We could go through the list. I mean, he dominated Marquez by knocking him down all those times in the first fight in a way that Floyd didn't. And Floyd obviously had that huge weight advantage over Marquez and also made him fight at a catch weight that he himself decided that he wouldn't even fight at. So you look at Floyd's career, it's a great career. He's got great wins, but I cannot put it up there against the Pac-Man. Just can't.
Well, look, at the end of the day, you know, I don't want to turn it into a full-fledged debate, but just not to defend Mayweather or anything, but I mean, Mayweather fought the better version of De La Hoya without a shadow of a doubt. You know what I mean? De La Hoya 154 at that point of his career versus a guy that had to move down after like 8-9 years, you know, and train himself to 147 is a different Mayweather. I'm sorry, De La Hoya, but the fact of the matter is Pacquiao was a big underdog. He was moving up to that weight for the first time in his career, right? But overall, though, I mean, when you look at the resume, I mean, it's there. I mean, the biggest thing for Mayweather is the fact that he never lost. That's his biggest thing. But he stopped challenging himself really after the Maidana fights, you know, or the Pacquiao fight, I should say. He never really challenged himself again, so he didn't keep proving that, hey, look, I could keep my Pacquiao doesn't. You know, he didn't keep challenging himself. He stopped challenging himself years ago, you know, where Manny Pacquiao is still doing it. Even right now, he's still like, look at who they've both fought in the last few years. And I know that the other thing people are saying is, well, look, Pacquiao tried to do the Conor McGregor fight, so he's just as guilty. Well, here's the thing. One, the fight didn't happen. That's number one. Okay. And second, who's to say he wasn't just going to use that as some type of tune-up? You know what I mean? Who knows?
Here's the other thing, D-Style. Pacquiao has over 20 more total fights. Does anyone here believe that if Mayweather fought over 20 more times against current and former world champions, that he wouldn't have a couple losses on his record? If you really believe that, then that's fine. But I'm of the view that he probably would have a few more losses or have some losses.
Right. No doubt. I mean, I definitely agree with what you're saying there, man. Manny Pacquiao versus Errol Spence announced. You guys let me know what you guys think in the chat about that. T White, aka the Fight Doctor, in the chat, giving us little shout outs. B doing that double duty in the chat. Mr. Sinister, how is it going, brother? All right. AHDZ, how's it going? Mr. Sinister, Boxing Historian, Alexis, Javier, all of you stay here. We have a great show. We'll have Abner later in about 30 minutes or so. He will be on. Okay. I'm not going to be doing the math for you guys for the time zones, but 30 minutes from now, from present time. Okay. There you go. And the other thing to consider is the following. And AHDC actually made the point right now. Manny Pacquiao fought outside his natural weight. Now, I don't know if Mayweather didn't, but he definitely did it far more than Mayweather, right? I think that's a fair argument to say. I mean, Manny Pacquiao came from lower weight classes. And one thing I remember about their fight was, even though they did not weigh in, by the way, there was no official same-day weight like they used to do on HBO when they let us know how much they actually weighed in the ring. But Mayweather tried to convince people that he was smaller than Pacquiao, that he weighed, that it was lighter than Pacquiao. Okay, he's like, no, I actually weighed less the next day. I did. Like, I seen him do interviews saying he weighed less, and like he really doesn't want to be like the bigger guy against Pacquiao because he knows what that means, really. You know what I mean? He wants to be known as a much smaller guy, which he just isn't. Okay, Mayweather was big for 130. Okay, when he was at that weight class. Okay. That's just true. And then he moved up. He might have moved to welterweight a little too soon, but his talents, kept him there. Relevant and all that. I get it, but in my opinion, there is definitely an argument for Manny Pacquiao right now. And if he beats Errol Spence, my God, okay, if he beats Errol Spence, hey Beeb, if he beats Errol Spence, do you think a Pacquiao Crawford fight is likely?
No. I don't think he'll ever fight Crawford.
Even if he beats Spence?
Well, because they were mentioning someone in his camp. I was reading an article. One of his trainers said that they don't like Crawford's style. They don't think it's a good style for him. They think Spence's style is more suitable. They think that Spence is slower. They just feel as though Spence is a better matchup for Pacquiao as opposed to Crawford. So, and plus they already floated that Crawford fight out there twice, and it was like rumored to happen, but for whatever reason, it never happened. And I think Pacquiao's manager also, Sean Gibbons, said that Pacquiao does not need Crawford at all. And a lot of people really throw shade on Crawford because of his drawing ability or the lack thereof, per se, that people put out there, that particularly his promoter, Bob Arum. So there's a lot of risk for Crawford, but not a lot of reward. Spence, on the other hand, you could put Spence in Cowboy Stadium. He can sell that out. Did it with Mikey Garcia. So imagine putting him in there alongside Manny Pacquiao. That's just a mega event. It's going to be a mega event wherever they put it. I think it's going to be in Vegas, but I'm just saying, if they were to put it in Dallas, it would have been phenomenal as well. So I guess my point being is we already know Spence can sell out stadiums.
Yeah, he's a much more proven ticket seller than Terrence Crawford is. This guy's where has Terrence Crawford sold tickets outside of Omaha? I mean, I've gone to his fights in New York City. They're never sellouts. Far from it.
Yeah.
Now Fight Doctor is saying Mayweather frequently entered the ring at 148 while fighting as a welterweight. That might be true, like pre-Haddon, right? Because he had that little like retirement. I don't think he weighed 148 pounds after that. I just don't. And if you notice, it's a pattern. They stopped doing the same day official weigh-in. We just have to take his word for it.
Yeah, and I mean, Pacquiao was weighing in at like 144, 143 for welterweight fights after eating like full breakfast and shit. So, again, we're comparing Pacquiao with Mayweather.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, just something to consider. But there's an argument on both sides. Don't get me wrong. I'm presenting the case. I mean, you even heard me, for those that did. I mean, I kind of gave the case for why Mayweather's, in my opinion, win over De La Hoya could be considered better just because of the version of De La Hoya that they fought. But at the end of the day, I mean, it's even Cotto, right? The Cotto win for Pacquiao was a spectacular win. I mean, no matter how you slice it, dice it, you know, Mayweather beat him in his own way, but I mean, you could argue, I mean, Pacquiao beat him in more dominant fashion, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Now, T. White, if maybe I'm wrong about this, but did Mayweather and Alvarez have an official day of the fight weigh-in? Does anybody know? Because I don't know. Let us know if there was. I would definitely like to look at that for sure. You know, because I'll be interested to see how much Alvarez was allowed to weigh in if they did do that, and compare it to what he weighed against Trout. You know what I mean? But it's just a curiosity of mine. Let's go ahead and if you guys don't want to call in, I mean, call in, guys. You're like Fight Doctor. You can call in. You guys can call in, by the way. Just letting you guys know. All right. Let's go ahead and switch gears here.
We have a call here.
Okay, go ahead. Get to the caller.
Yep. Brian, you're on live on the round table. What's good, fam?
Go ahead. We can hear you, bro. Go ahead.
I'm blessed, man. I'm blessed. Thanks for calling in.
What's up? Yeah, man. Because you guys are touching on the topic, man. It's amazing, man, that Manny Pacquiao's 44 and he's still in that, still up there, you know, fighting top dudes at welterweight. But him calling out Spence, I'm gonna be honest with you. I think whoever did the matchmaking for Pacquiao, I think I think they're on point. What you guys were mentioning earlier, I think these fellows was saying that Manny Pacquiao, they feel like Errol Spence is a better matchup, and I think that's not far fetched. And the reason why is because Spence tends to start early, kind of like Joe Frazier, start early, you know, very slow. But he likes to land body shots, you know, put that in the bank. Then later on in the round, he picks it up. I don't think that's probably the wisest thing to do against someone like Pacquiao, because Pacquiao, when he's out and outside, he likes to start in with those unorthodox punches. He's still even at his age is faster than most of the guys that are at welterweight currently. I think Pacquiao actually can hurt the dude, because one thing about Errol Spence is that from what I'm seeing in his fights is that he doesn't really move his head effectively like that. And against someone with the hand speed and the stinging power of Manny Pacquiao, I think that this is going to be a fight that he's going to have to gut out and try to win via knockout, because I can see Pacquiao scoring points on him all throughout the earlier rounds. And if he's not able to land those clean body shots and gets leery of actually trying to throw a body shot because of those punches coming up upstairs, it could spell a recipe for disaster for Errol Spence. I don't know what you guys think about that.
I don't believe there'll be a recipe for disaster for Spence. I personally believe Spence is going to win. But hey, I mean, I appreciate all viewpoints, and I think you make some good points. I just think the size is going to be like a lot of the points are valid, but sometimes we have to weigh in like the age of Pacquiao. We have to weigh in the size of Spence, the youth of Spence. You know what I mean? And I don't even think the moment's going to be too high for Spence because he's already been in arenas with a lot of people against Mikey Garcia, against Porter. He's already been in wars. So he's been in those situations where he's in the trenches and he's in the middle of a fight. He's already been there. Like
Right.
Pacquiao couldn't make him revisit that a little bit and maybe make it a little more difficult for him. But at the end of the day, I just think we can't ignore Pacquiao's age. You know what I mean? That to me, that's a big factor. And also, you did mention Spence's body work. While Pacquiao, well, I think while Spence goes to the body, Pacquiao will be able to counter him upstairs. You know what I mean? So I do see that. That can cause Pacquiao to become like a headhunter in the fight. You know what I mean? Because he'll have some openings upstairs. And if Spence can take those punches while he's going to the body, the second half of the fight is going to be a long night for Manny Pacquiao. Okay, that I will say.
Well, here's my question. Since you mentioned Porter is like his fighting style is different than Pacquiao's, but it's kind of similar. As in, he's not an inside fighter of any sort, but he likes to throw punches and bunches, and he's the type of dude that likes to dart in, throwing wild punches and whatnot. But even at Pacquiao's age, and you do make a good point about his age being a factor in the fight. And that is very much the case with a lot of guys because it's a young man's sport no matter what. But I think even with Sean Porter, because I even picked Sean Porter to actually beat Spence because I saw something in that fight or even before the fight that Spence can get, can have punches landed on him. And I think that if Porter was able to do what he did and Spence only win by like maybe 2 or 3 rounds, I think Pacquiao has a really good shot, in my opinion, because even at his age, I think he's much better version than Porter. I think he can do a lot more than Porter, and he has more skills, the skill department, than Porter, So I understand the age difference, but I still think that there's still something with Spence in terms of his weakness of the lack of mobility of his hip, the lack of head movement that he's shown. And, Pacquiao hits harder than Sean Porter. So I'm just thinking about those factors. It could go either way, based off of what both guys can do, but I'm making a strong case for Pacquiao pulling off the upset.
Well, hey, Brian, you made your case, brother. We definitely appreciate you calling in, giving us your take and all that, man.
Absolutely.
Feel free to call back in for another topic. We have the lines open, brother.
Not a problem.
Are you
kidding? Right. If anybody else wants to call in, 718-618-4284. I do want to talk about Obali versus Nonito Donaire. Donaire, old veteran here, back down to 118. Obali, really good fighter, great combination fighter. I first want to go to you, Amilcar, because you don't believe Donaire could win. I want you to elaborate a little more. How do you see this? How do you see this fight going?
It's not that I don't think Donaire can win. I do think he's going to win. I just feel like Oubaali's a little bit underrated. And you know what? We're going to bring in a little bit of background music to make my argument because, like French Montana, man, Oubaali ain't afraid of nothing, man. He ain't worried about nothing. So for those of you that don't know, Oubaali is a North African Moroccan, just like my boy French Montana from here in the Bronx, New York. He's very underrated. People have not really seen much of him because he's been off US TV for the most part of his career. He fights in a lower weight class. He had a tremendous amateur career. He hasn't been in that many wars, but he's fought pretty good opposition. In his last fight, if you guys didn't see it, he took the O from Inoue's brother and was pretty dominant in that performance. I have a lot of respect for Nonito. I've seen him fight live once here when he was fighting Rigo over here at Radio City Music Hall. He's a warrior. He's been in the game for a really long time. But I just think his time has passed. And it's now time for Oubaali to kind of take kind of the reins here and defend his title because he is the champ and move on to a really big fight against an Inoue or maybe Jerwin Ancajas. But yeah, all respect to Nonito. He has the power to stop anybody, but I think Oubaali's skills are going to pay the bills in this fight. And like I said, he ain't worried about nothing.
Okay. Hey, Beeb, who do you have in this fight, brother? Nonito Donaire. He's up there in age, but he's big for this weight class against Obali.
I got Nonito Donaire here. And I'll tell you why. I like his counter-punching ability. Obali, we talked about this, and I agree with you 100%. I think he is a pattern fighter. I think his attack patterns are repetitious. I think he jumps in with the 1-2. I don't think he shoots the jab from the outside. I think he jumps in with the jab, and then he kind of leans in with the straight left. And by him leaning in like that and by him doing the same thing over and over again, what does a counterpuncher love? He loves repetition. He loves being able to pick up on attack patterns. And I think Nonito Donaire is going to figure him out. I think Nonito Donaire is going to knock him out with a left hook. To be perfectly honest with you.
Like Montiel.
Correct. I'm going with the upset here.
Kind of has that Montiel build, huh? Let me think about it.
That was a spectacular knockout, by the way, back when Nonito was in his primes.
I think because I see a lot of the skills you're talking about, Amilcar. So I don't want to like minimize what Obali could do. I just think styles make fights, and Obali works a lot. His combinations are really, really good, but I just don't see him that effective without throwing combinations. And with a guy like even a Rigondeaux, like had to pick his spots against Donaire. Like he couldn't throw combinations against Donaire like that. You know what I mean? Like he couldn't fight Donaire the way he fought Ceja, or he had to be smarter in there. And Donaire still caught it. Like people forget that he dropped Rigondeaux. That might have been the shining moment for Donaire and all that, but
But I agree with you, and I'm going to sound like a hypocrite right now by bringing up his age after just saying that I think Manny's going to do so well.
Hey, the Filipino dudes are on fire this year, bro. Like they're old, but they're on fire. They're going to get these W's. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and if he gets this W, I'm going to be super happy for him. I like Nonito. But I do have a question, though. I've never seen him get knocked down, so I think he has a pretty good chin. Oubaali, he was working with Roy Jones Jr. In the past. I don't know if he's still working with him. If anyone in the chat knows the answer to that, please share it. But I know that there was a stretch where he was working with Roy Jones Jr. As one of kind of his fighters.
Okay, all right. Well, we will see, man. If he's able to, box Donaire for first of all, I don't think he's going to stop Donaire. Let me just say that right now. He's going to have to outbox him in the course of 12 rounds. But we'll see. The other thing about Donaire, he's developed a really good right hand, as you funky pointed out yesterday, and I think that's going to give Obali some problems, man. You know what I mean? So that's what we're going to say. If you guys want to call in, number 718-618-4284, and let us know what you think here. We're going to talk about Haney and Linares when Russ is here, but I want to talk about this. So we're not going to break down the fight right now, guys, but what I want to ask you is about Teofimo Lopez saying that he wants Haney next, and he said, you know what? And if he outprices himself, I'll take it to purse bids and I'll make it happen, right? Because he's high on the purse bids thing now. You know what I mean? I don't know if Triller will jump all over it again, or it might end up on the zone if he does that, by the way. But I want to know what you guys think of that. About that. It's Teofimo Lopez saying he wants Haney next, and he'll take it to purse bids if he has to. Beeb, what are your thoughts on this, brother?
I love the fight. And if it does go to purse bids, I agree 100%. I think the zone will pick it up. But here's the thing. Haney's is a type of guy where he calls everybody out after he has the fights already announced. And I'm just a little skeptical, and this is no disrespect to Haney, but behavior is proof. For whatever reason, he'll call these guys out, and then once he finishes his fight, then he ends up fighting another guy that's not them. So I hope that the fight does happen. I would love it. But will Haney step up to the plate? That's the thing. No disrespect to Haney. He's a good fighter. But I don't hate the Linares fight, but I don't really like it or love it either. I'd rather would have seen a lot of other guys. I don't think Linares is going to win the fight, so we'll see.
Well said, well said. And Milcar, what do you make of that?
Well, it's funny because I was on live with my brothers Kenny T and none other than Mr. DAZN himself, H Money, on Monday, mano a mano, and we were discussing kind of the future here in the aftermath of Josh Taylor's performance, because obviously that performance didn't just have ramifications at 140, but also had ramifications at 135 and 147 as well. And what I was laying out was, and this is obviously if he gets past, Teofimo gets past Kambosos, which I think he will, is I'd like to see him take on Devin Haney, settle that score at 135, all right, because believe it or not, there are still people out there debating whether he's undisputed or not, all right? Haney does still carry that 135 championship. Let's get that sorted out, right? Let's have Taylor fight Catterall, mandatory defense. Remember, Catterall took step-aside money. All right, he was entitled to a shot at Ramirez. He stepped aside to allow that unification fight to take place, that undisputed fight to take place. He deserves a shot at Josh Taylor. All right, let's get those fights out of the way. And let's have the winner of Haney, and that's, again, if he gets past Linares, which I think he will, fight Teofimo. Let's have Catterall fight Taylor. And let's get those guys going at it. Undisputed versus undisputed. That's what I'd like to see. And I'm actually happy to hear that Teofimo wants to fight. I actually tweeted out just before the show that Teofimo's saying that Josh Taylor's scared. I don't think anybody believes that. I think anybody who knows about boxing will just laugh off that statement. But he wants that fight. So I'd like to see it happen.
Yeah, I don't think Josh Taylor's scared of anybody.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Like, I just don't. If he ran into a heavyweight in the back alley, he'd be like, "What's up?" You know what I mean? He might not win, but you know, he's like Captain America, but he's Captain Scottish. You know, remember Captain America in the Avengers? He kept getting back up and like, I could do this all day. To me, that's Josh Taylor.
He's like Braveheart.
This is Braveheart. William Wallace, reborn, reincarnate. You know what I mean? But I will say this, man. Shout out to Teofimo putting it out there. You know what I mean? And since he put it out, we do got to hold him to it, though. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just saying, like, you said you want him. I got to hold you to it. I got for the sake of me being consistent. But he doesn't have a track record of just like when Manny like tweeted that out about the Spence fight, and I had no doubt because Manny don't play games like that. You know what I mean? Like when Ryan Garcia put out a poster of him against Manny, I was very skeptical. You know what I mean? I was like, I don't know, maybe, I guess. You know what I mean? But when Manny Pacquiao puts out a poster, I believe it. When Teofimo Lopez says, I want this guy next, I believe it. Why? Because when after he had just finished fighting Nakatani, by the way, and destroyed a veteran like Diego Magdaleno before he was even a champion at that, okay? And he said, I want to fight for a title, and he did, and he beat, a reigning champion, okay, to do it. And then he said, I want to fight Lomachenko next, and that's what he did. And that big unification, that's, that you could, there's a debate out there, but I don't want to make this about whether it's undisputed or not. I really don't want to go there, but all doubts would be cleared, I would assume, if he fights Haney, unless the WBC says that fight will be for the franchise belt, and now the winner of Fortuna and Jojo Diaz will be the WBC regular, and then we could have all these debates for 8-9 hours that people do whether it's going to be undisputed or not. Okay, is it undisputed if that happens, Maestro?
Yeah, I think, again, I'm not taking one side of the argument here or the other. I think that strong cases have been made on both sides if you're willing to take an open mind and lay blame on the WBC, which is where the blame should be. I'm not about blaming Devin Haney or Teofimo Lopez. WBC is the one that created this mess. Having said that, if the winner of Linares, Haney, fights the winner of Kambosos versus Lopez, I mean, that's without a doubt the undisputed fight. And that guy should take on Josh Taylor. I don't want to see Josh Taylor take on take on Terrence Crawford. That Terrence Crawford's issues right now are Top Rank's problem, not Josh Taylor's problem, not anybody else's problem. And it's funny to me that people are expecting Josh Taylor, and I know he said that he wants to do this, but it's funny to me that people are expecting him to take on the baddest dude at 147 when that baddest dude has arguably not yet challenged himself against the best at 147. I don't even think that's debatable, actually. Jeff Horn is who he took the title from. He fought Mean Machine. He fought Jose Benavidez Jr., and he fought a well-past-it Kell Brook. So, you know, he's got proven to do at 147. But yet he's still on all these top pound-for-pound lists, which I find very interesting because they say Usyk can't be top pound-for-pound or up there in the top 5 because he hasn't proven himself at heavyweight. Well, how has Terrence Crawford proven himself at welterweight? We're still basing his quote-unquote pound-for-pound status off of what he did at 135 and 140. Well, if you're going to do that, then why don't you take Usyk at the value of what he did at 200?
Well, yeah, shit. You know what I mean? Do you guys think that, like a little impromptu question for you guys, that this purse bid threat, because that's what, like, I kind of see, like, Theo's like flexing right now, especially to Top Rank and everybody. Like, I could take it at purse bids. You know what I mean? Now, first of all, the Twitter event has to be successful for you to take it, like, to still keep doing that. If it's successful, yeah, you could keep doing that. But do you think, like, this could become either a problem? Do you think this could become a positive thing, a mix of both? Beeb, what do you think? Do you think that this whole purse bid thing, is it going to become a problem in your opinion?
It's a rabbit hole they should not go down because it's gonna inflate the market, and once you do that, a lot of fights don't get made because people are going to say, well, if he got this from this guy, then we're not going to touch him. So right. it kind of limits the options for fighters, really, because after a while, if a specific fighter keeps going to purse bids, promoters may not want to deal with that guy because he's a problem.
Like, just imagine Josh Taylor before I go to Bookcar, like, you want to offer me what? Like, you just gave Camboza's like $2.5 million. Like, I'm an undisputed champion. You want me to make the same? Are you out of your mind? Like, I don't know. What do you think, Milcar?
I think it's a little misguided. For those of you who don't know, it was actually George Kambosos' side that secured the Triller deal. In fact, his manager secured the deal, and his manager is now in charge of, like, boxing operations at Triller. So that's number one. It wasn't Teofimo Lopez and his team that got the bag. It was actually the Australian team that got the bag, funny enough. So that's number one. Number two, Triller may even start to regret this. Maybe they're already regretting it right now. We just got word that their pay-per-view is now going to cost $60. Right? What happened to the model of, oh, well, we're going to go in at value, you know, at 49.
Because you're not sharing half with a network.
Exactly. So they were supposed to be coming in at value at $50. You know, it's a little reasonable. But now they're not doing it. And then the third thing is, well, how successful is the Triller model, given that their biggest star, Jake Paul, is now no longer with Triller and has decided to go over to Showtime? And given the fact that Roy Jones Jr. is on the record saying that he hasn't been paid what he's owed by Triller and is going to go the legal route to recoup that. How do we know that, given the fact that Mike Tyson no longer wants to be associated with Triller over financial reasons as well? So I don't know if Teo's necessarily on the right track here in terms of thinking that what happened for this fight is going to repeat itself.
Right. I mean, I just, the only counter, not that I'm saying, everything you said is correct, right? So let me just say that. But you know, like there's no way Camboza's side gets that bag if the opponent isn't Teofimo Lopez. You know, like if the opponent was Joe Schmo from down the street, ain't no way they're going to offer that. You know what I mean? I just want to throw it out there. But they did smartly use, you know, the fight itself as leverage. And it was a fight Hearn, by the way. He is the mandatory. So, you know, they did what they had to do. And Theo was all for it, by the way. So because they both made money. And I'm never against fighters making money. And I want to make sure people understand that. Okay. In my opinion, Bob should have just told Theo, like, go get that bag. You know what I mean? I'll get my cut. Like that's their money. Like, you know what I mean? Like we all make money and they pay for that fight, and we'll see you on, and you know, we'll see you on, you know, for your next fight on ESPN. You know, by the way, just to put it out there, I mean, the Zone / Eddie Hearn outbid Top Rank as well. Okay. So even if Triller wouldn't have won it, like it would have been on the Zone. I just want to make sure people understand that Top Rank got outbid by 2 promotional outfits. Okay. And just so, speaking of that, Aram did say he was going to get Hearn back for that. And there's some people speculating that he misled Hearn about this Undisputed fight in retaliation. Do you believe that, Beeb?
Partially I do. I think partially I do, but I think part of me thinks Hearn kind of was in on it too. I just don't think he's that stupid. I just can't believe that he would not be that stupid. Just can't.
Ain't nobody that dumb, you know?
I just can't. But
okay. Well said. And I believe we got our guest of the evening joining the panel here, the one and the only. I promise you, there's only one of them. Russ. What's going on, Russ Abner? How are you doing, brother?
I'm good. How are you?
And we're doing awesome. We're doing great, man. It's definitely a pleasure to have you on and an honor. The one and the only, man. Thank you for joining the round table here. We're about to go to our next topic, and I'd like your opinion about this fight. Haney versus Linares. In your professional opinion, how do you think this fight's going to go?
Listen, I think it's a good fight. I think these are the kind of fights that happen in boxing where you got the young guy now, taking that step up, right? And you have to try as a trainer, as a manager, as a promoter, as a matchmaker, you try to calculate everything you can into how good your guy is, and is he ready to take on the obstacles that somebody like a veteran would put up. And, in different cases, you get different answers. But I think this, to me, seems like the logical step, right? If you are the lightweight champion of the world, then I think you're supposed to be taking on somebody like Jorge Linares, who's a seasoned veteran and well deserved of a title shot.
Well said. Beeb, talk to us, brother. How do you think this fight's going to go, brother?
It may be the right fight at the right time for Haney. Linares did give Lomachenko a very good fight, but he did get stopped. I think Haney's going to cruise in this fight. I think that he realizes that Linares is a good counterpuncher. He's fast, and he's a little bit slick himself. He's experienced. So I think Haney's going to fight from the outside very carefully. I think he's going to try to pot shot. And I think Haney's going to win a competitive decision. I think he's going to win a decision like 8 rounds to 4, 116 to 112-ish, in my opinion.
All right. Hey, Maestro. I'm sorry. Yeah, go ahead, Russ. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. I think it's an accurate assessment. Haney's shown a lot of good stuff lately. He's looked impressive. I was ringside for one of his devastating knockouts a couple of years ago, and the kid's good. There's no doubt about it. I think Joe makes a good point that Haney is skilled, and I think they believe he's ready. And now it's going to be up to him to shine. I'd have to say that I think most people were expecting that breakout performance against Gamboa, and he didn't get it, right? So I think they're hoping for it now. If he doesn't again, this is going to be recalculation time, I think, but the kid's a great talent, and that's the one they're looking for, that knockout performance. They're looking for that great win. They're looking to better on the performance.
Definitely. Well said. Maestro, anything you wanted to add about this fight, brother?
Well, before I get to the fight, I just want to say it's an honor to be here with Mr. Russ Amber. Been a big fan of his since, man, I could go all the way back to the
easy with the old calling. Easy with calling me old now.
I'll just go back to Howard Grant. How about that? And in this corner on TSN, that's my man right there from the 514. So big fan, have been for a long, long time. What I want to say about this fight is I got to agree. It's kind of the right timing for Devin Haney. I didn't know this. I learned about it from H Money, who's joining us in the chat tonight, that apparently he had a broken hand in his last fight. I was very critical of him after that fight. I thought that he really should have gotten Gamboa out of there. Gamboa was even undersized at 126. He fought him at 135 at the age of 40 pretty much. And he did not look very good, Haney, against Gamboa. Now, luckily for him, he's got a perfect guy right now in terms of demonstrating his punching power, because that's kind of been a criticism of his, that he hasn't really kind of gotten rid of his opponents. Linares has been dropped and knocked out by much lesser opponents. We can talk about Cano. We could talk about Sergio Thompson and others. One of the most highly skilled guys I've ever seen fight. I was at the Garden when he knocked down Lomachenko, and I know Mr. Russ Amber was there, I believe, in Lomachenko's corner for that fight, if memory serves me well. That shot got me out of my seat, but he couldn't withstand Lomachenko's shots. He hasn't been able to withstand the shots of other fighters, and I think that the skills, especially the speed and the quickness of Haney and his youth, are going to win him this fight. But so that's my opinion right now.
Well, I do want to say this, though. Ben Davidson, I mean, if, Tyson Fury left him to go to Kronk to be more offensive, right? To go for the knockout against Wilder. So I don't know if he's going to make Haney more, more aggressive. I don't think that's going to be a game plan. Even though Linares is known to have a suspect chin and all that, but at 140 got knocked out, but now he's back down to 135. Russ, I want to ask you this: do you think Haney? What chances do you give him to knock out Linares in this fight?
Guys, I don't know that answering, you base it on a chance. What chance does he have? I think he's got a legitimate chance. He's a good puncher. He's a really good puncher. It all depends on what Linares is going to do. I mean, Linares, don't forget, with Lomachenko, he got stopped with a body shot. So I mean, you don't know, right? Like it just right. What you give up, and he gave up so much in that fight, and with the relentless pressure that Loma was putting on him, and look, Haney's got a great shot at doing it, but Linares is a veteran. He's a great fighter. He trains hard. He's disciplined. He does what he's supposed to do. I think it's more a question of, can he handle the style? Is the experience and savvy of Linares, who can pull away from punches nicely. In a way, Gamboa did that and offset Haney quite significantly, but he wasn't sized to be able to carry it out, and Haney kind of maintained a disciplined performance, won the rounds like he was supposed to, which he did. You can't take that away from him. He stayed in his lane and did what he had to do. Will Linares take him out of his comfort zone? I think for Linares to win, more so than what it would be for a knockout, is, can Linares take him out of his comfort zone? Can Linares make him do things that he doesn't want to do and make it a fight to happen? Make a fight happen. And I think that's going to be the key to Linares winning. If he lets Haney dictate, then I think it's just going to be Haney in cruise control. But if he offsets that and keeps breaking that, Linares could have a chance. And I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if the fight goes the distance either. And I think it could be a heck of a fight as much as it could be a chess match.
Well said. Okay, now I do officially have Haney winning that fight by decision, but we will see how it goes. I can't count out a veteran like Jorge Linares, El Niño de Oro, so we will see how that one goes. And we're going to learn a lot, I think, about Devin Haney in this fight, because to me it is a step up for him, and a fight a lot of us have been asking for, for that level of opponent. So we will see how that goes. Now, an interesting fight that was that's, to me, it's a really interesting fight. Okay, it's Nakatani versus Lomachenko, right? Lomachenko coming off, his loss to Teofimo, to come back against who I believe is a very dangerous opponent in Nakatani. I want to ask you first, Russ, what do you make of this fight?
I think it's a typical Lomachenko. I mean, we look back on hindsight and Lomachenko dominates everybody. And, we kind of forget at the time before the fight is made, how dangerous certain opponents were. And then after he wins, we forget that they were dangerous because he won in such convincing fashion. Well, I mean, guys, when he fought Walters, Walters was crushing people. I mean, this Walters was, oh my gosh, this is going to be a war. This is dangerous. Oh, yeah. And it was nothing, like he no discredit to Walters, but it just showed the level of what Lomachenko is. And I feel sometimes the American media, boxing fans, they forget these things. They forget the greatness and I'm not saying this just because I work with Loma, because I'm a fan of boxing. And Maestro knows, this is me talking not as a coach, but as a fan of boxing, as a lover of boxing, as a connoisseur of boxing. Lomachenko is like something we see once in a lifetime. It's like the chance we had to get a Roy Jones. This doesn't happen all the time. And sometimes I feel we want to denigrate these people, put them down instead of giving them their just due. The guy has what, 14? Is he up to 14, 15 pro fights? Every fight he's been in prior to this one has been a world title fight besides the first one. So that's like a guy who had 15 pro fights against nobodies to raise his record to 15-0. Then win a title, and then have 14 successful title defenses or world championship fights. And we'd be saying, oh my God, the guy's great. Can you believe that? He's won 14 world championship fights in 3 different weight categories. But because he did this, like this, we kind of say, well, there was nobody there. Yeah, there's no opposition. Yeah, his time will come. Yeah, he didn't do it. So that bothers me, when people talk like that. And this, to me, is typical Lomachenko fighting a dangerous guy in Nakatani. And he's always fought tough guys. They're not going to give him a scrub. He's not getting a scrub. He's going to get a good guy. He's going to get a good guy. And who knows, like, if Lomachenko blasts him out, I want to hear the negative comments that people will then have to say, because don't forget, Verdejo came this close to not losing, and it would have been over, and people would have said, Nakatani who? No, but because he came back on a great win, now he's dangerous. So let's let Loma do his thing. I think one of the injustices that's going on in the boxing world right now, and something that shouldn't be happening, is that Loma not having the Teofimo rematch is criminal. It's criminal for the fans. It's criminal for the sport. It's criminal for the achievement you have as an athlete and what you've earned as a fighter. You've earned that right. It's not like you were a nobody and you won a fight and then lost once you could get a rematch. No, your history is filled with accomplishments from 2 Olympic gold medals onward. How is that? And the fans loved it, and the intrigue of that fight. No one's turning around saying, oh, Loma should have won, he was robbed. No one said that. It's fine. But Loma came down from 5-1 hole or maybe 6-0 to come back and make it competitive. Forget what the judges' scorecard said, but the people who know boxing, Andre Ward, all the fighters, Crawford, everybody had this a close fight. And so you say, wow, there's some interest here. How could there not be interest on what if he gets started sooner? And if he doesn't and gets beat, then it proves the Lopez legacy. It proves his dominance. It proves that it was not a fluke. It was well-earned, and he wins. That, to me, is criminal that rematch is not happening.
It's like the reverse of the De La Hoya Trinidad fight, where it's like, what if Oscar didn't coast towards the end and kind of give up those later rounds? And we never got to find out because what should have been a good rematch never ended up taking place.
Yeah.
So yeah, I for one would love to see that rematch, and I think that this is a good opportunity for Loma to show that he's still not just a live dog, but elite at 135 against the guy who's caused everybody problems, right? He caused Teofimo Lopez problems, right? And later on, they were like, oh well, that was one of the reasons. At least I felt it was that fight that Loma was going to do a lot better against Teo than he did. It was the Nakatani performance. And then, like you just said, Russ, his win over Verdejo was an impressive one because he was taking a shellacking round after round, getting knocked down, getting back up, never lost focus of what he wanted to do, which was win, and showed a lot of heart. So we know that he's going to stand up to Lomachenko. I think it's going to be a very good kind of stylistic matchup, and I think it's guaranteed fireworks.
I'm going to be looking forward to being in the corner.
Well, there you go.
Back in Vegas.
Yes, it should be a great fight. Beeb, I already know who you have, but go ahead and tell the world who you think's going to win, Nakatani versus Lomachenko.
Well, Lomachenko definitely is a great fighter. There's no question about it. But at this stage, I think he may be slowing down just a step. I think that shoulder has had a couple surgeries on it. And he's also said that these guys at lightweight, they're long and tall, and he has a hard time dealing with the size of these guys. That's not to say that he hasn't done a good job against the competition up here, but hasn't been as easy for him as it was at 130 and 126. And, we're seeing him get hit more at this weight class. And he's going to be going in there with the biggest guy I think he's ever fought. This guy is close to 6 feet, 71-inch reach. And he's got a real sneaky right hand, which is the southpaw killer. And here's the kicker: you can hit this guy with a telephone pole. You ain't getting him out of there. And Loma is not that one-punch knockout guy. So you're going to have this guy who's going to be putting on pressure. And when you put on pressure on somebody, you can only move so much in a fight. Sugar Ray Leonard said you can only move so much in a fight, and at some point you got to plant your feet and hold your ground and get your respect. What's going to happen when Loma has to plant his feet and try to get his respect, and he's hitting this kid, and this kid just keeps coming forward. So I think this is a tough fight for Loma. I think Nakatani may get the upset here, to be perfectly honest with you.
Okay, so now we got to come back after the fight and revisit.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah. I'm sorry, Russ. No disrespect. I'm just giving my opinion.
Bro, you didn't say one little disrespectful thing. There have been a lot more disrespectful things said than picking a winner, So I have no to do that. You make your point, that's fine. If you'd have come on, Joe, and said, Lomachenko didn't fight nobody, he's over.
No, can't do that. Can't do that, Russ.
Then you'd have been disrespectful. Then we'd have had a problem. But I can respect what you have to say. I don't have to agree with it, and I hope you're wrong and I'm right. So
fair enough.
Yeah.
That's right. I mean, he'll be back because I've been trying to tell him, Russ, that Loma's going to style on Nakatani. I think Nakatani's feet are too slow, and my answer to that is I just think he could just outbox him for 12 rounds if he can't take him out. That's what I think.
Here's the one thing that I'll disagree with Joe on, because I can't disagree on the other stuff because it's theory. But when we talk about size with a fighter, Lopez had size. Height is not size, okay? Height is height, and I'm not worried about that. But the mass of Lopez was size. Like, you looked at that fight and you said, the commission must have made a mistake on the scale, bro. They took the wrong guy, How did this guy weigh in at that weight? You know what I mean? Like, this day before weigh-in has proved to be massive for fighters like the Lomas, maybe even back in the day, the Golovkins, who were naturally that weight that they should be, but everybody else wasn't. You know what I mean? Everybody else isn't. They suck themselves down and then boost up, and there's like 16, 18, 20 pounds difference from where they weighed before. I'm not expecting this, Joe, from Nakatani. He's tall, of course, but I'm not sure that the physical presence that was Teofimo Lopez is going to be the same with Nakatani. And I don't think that the defense from Nakatani is going to be as good as it was as Lopez's defense was. Lopez fought. I'll tell you what, I was surprised at the tactical fight Lopez fought. And he went out there and decided, I'm going to box this guy as well. And a lot of people would have figured, you box this guy, you're going to come out second best. And he didn't, so he boxed a smart fight. So I'm not sure I agree about the size thing.
Plus, we have seen him with a tall lightweight.
I think it's the range. The range is going to, I think when I say size, I'm talking about the range too. He may not, you can make a good point. He may not be as thick, but he's still a decent sized guy. I mean, I think he's going to go into the ring well, probably 147 pounds. I have.
You think he'll be bigger than Lopez was?
I think he'll be about the same weight.
But, right?
but Lopez is a little shorter, so it looks bigger on him, Russ. That's the difference. This kid's almost 6 feet. Lopez is like 5'7"-ish, 5'8"-ish.
Okay, when we get to the ring, Riggs, I'll think of you if that happens. I'll be thinking of that in the corner.
You'll be surprised when you look across and see how big the kid is.
Okay.
But look, the other thing to consider is this: like in the Luke Campbell fight, yes, Luke he's a tall lightweight as well, right? So he has fought a tall guy before, and to me that was like a lot of torso for Loma. Like he was killing him to the body in that fight. And we see it with Canelo when he fights with tall guys. Then now that he's a shorter guy, he attacks the body. It's a lot of torso for him. I think Nakatani is going to have a lot of torso to offer Loma. I don't think Loma's going to have a problem hitting that body all night. I just don't.
Do you think it's going to be like, to shoot another example, like a Maurice Hooker kind of height, but rather than size? Whereas, like, to shout out another Montreal fighter, you guys all remember Gotti against Gamache, right? That was a case where a guy like really blew up in weight after the weigh-in and used that size against his opponent. I don't know. It's a good debate. I don't know if they did a next day weigh-in on Nakatani and to let us know how big he is physically, but he
5'11", 71-inch reach according to this comment, but.
Yes, but is it like a sturdiness and a rehydration thing where he ends up getting really big, or is it a guy that's just naturally skinny that kind of can make the weight rather easily?
Well, Emil Carr, let's go back and look at when Nakatani fought Lopez. Did Lopez look bigger than Nakatani that night? To you? Did you?
Well, he looked taller. I mean.
Off the top of my head, I don't.
He's a skinny guy, to be honest. I don't think he's that big.
I think he's thin, but I don't think he's like a rail, like how De La Hoya looked at like 130. Remember how skinny De La Hoya used to look at like 130, 135?
Yeah, that's true.
I don't think it looks like that.
Well, we will see.
Great debate. It's a great debate.
How much does he put on in weight, Russ? After a weigh-in, typically Lomachenko, that is.
He used to put on more. Yeah, I was going to say he used to put on more after weighing in at 30, right? He would put on more than he does weighing at 35. Like, I know for a fact he could not train and he might get to 147. He could go months without training and not hit 147. He's just it's just not big. He's just not a big guy. And that's the dynamic. I'm sorry?
Straight out of the couch after a couple of months, he'll be 147.
Yeah. Like, I mean, he just doesn't have that size. He doesn't have that mass. He doesn't have that bone structure. He's just not that big of a guy. And that's, like I said earlier, he's one of the fighters in boxing today where the day before weigh-in has hurt him. And there's probably, I think there's probably only a few fighters today who would still be able to fight or be champion in the weight class that they're in if they had to weigh in on the same day. There's not a lot of guys.
Where do you stand on that, Russ? Day in, the day before.
I hate it.
Is this you guys want to go into this topic now, or did you have? We're not interrupting the flow.
No, go ahead.
Look, I'm split on it. I'm divided on it. I mean, I understand why it's there, but yet even with it still being there, all you're doing is giving these crazies who want to go down in weight more, you give them more opportunity to do so, And then when you tell them, yeah, you can make that weight, don't worry, you'll have 36, almost 48 hours to rehydrate. So they do it, I don't think it's fair. I don't think it's fair for boxing history. I don't think it's, I understand the safety issues, but if you fought at the weight you're supposed to fight in, if you're in the weight class you're supposed to be at, and if you train and be a professional like you're supposed to be, there's no more danger in weighing in the same day. The danger is when you don't do those things and you dehydrate yourself and you don't have time to do it. That's where the danger happens. And sadly, in society, we always have to protect those people. You know, that's the ones you have to protect, and you hope it doesn't happen and no one gets hurt in it and that they're fully able to rehydrate. So what can you say? You make an argument either way. All I know is that today, all the guys that consider themselves the great welterweight champion, oh, I'm a great lightweight champion. You're not. Light heavyweights, all the light heavyweights today, they look like bloody cruiserweights. You know what I mean? Go watch film of Matthew Saad Muhammad and John Conte and Eddie Mustafa, all these guys. Bro, they look like super middleweights. They don't look like 175ers, but that's because they weighed in the same day. That was their weight, 175 on the scale, fight that night. You know, so I know we have to protect them because they can't protect themselves. So unfortunately, we're stuck with this.
I feel like if you go back and you look at the same day weigh-in era, especially if you go like to the 60s, 50s, a pattern
you don't have to go back that far.
Yeah. Well, what I've noticed is this. Well, what I've noticed when I go back and see the weigh-ins, they don't weigh in like on the dot. So like a welterweight fight, the limit was 147, but you have guys like one guy would weigh in 145, the other guy weighed in 142. Like, you know what I mean? Like they just came in at their optimum weight. That's just what they did. But you only had 8 weight classes though. So there was a little bit of like leeway there, and you had small welterweights, you had big welterweights, similar to like heavyweight today. You know what I mean? And it was the same in every weight class for sure. When Robinson first moved up to middleweight, he didn't weigh in 160 pounds on the dot. You know, he weighed in like the high, I think 149 or 150, something like that. Yeah. That's what he weighed. You know what I mean? So that's just what I've realized. But BB, you had something to say?
Yeah, you know what I hate about it too, because everyone thinks that it's safer, but I don't think it is, because a guy is walking around at 180 and he's trying to peel off 30, 40 pounds, and then he loses it, and then he thinks he can get all those nutrients and those electrolytes back in his system in 36 hours. You're still somewhat depleted from a nutritional standpoint, even though the water is in there and everything. You can't put all those electrolytes, those nutrients back in your system after you just damage yourself like that. And you do that enough times, that destroys your heart. So that's why I hate it. I think it's a false sense of security, in my opinion.
I think it also sorry, Joe.
Oh, I'm sorry. It just gives these guys I can walk around at 180 and I can peel it off, and then I could just put it all back on in 36 hours. That can backfire sometimes, in my opinion.
Yeah, the only thing I was going to add to that is I think it also benefits, let's be honest, fighters that have more money and they can afford all the exercise scientists and the nutritionists and the dietitians. You know, you got boxers right now that are literally taking calculations of, various things after every meal, after every day. Not all fighters can do that, obviously. So it puts those guys at a huge advantage. There's actually companies, especially based in Vegas, that like specialize in this. And I remember seeing one of those pre-fight kind of montage documentary things about Teofimo Lopez, and he actually does this. And he just looked like a beast in the training photos and footage I saw of him this week training for the Gambosis fight. I'm like, how does this guy make 135 pounds? It's crazy.
Well said. Well, although it is a dream, we're not going to go back to the day before weigh-ins. But just one thing I want to add, though. I'm not saying it doesn't happen and stuff like that, but I've been noticing more so with the UFC. I see a lot of troubling videos where people are passing out, they're having to hold them up, and I think it's because they don't have enough weight classes. Right. You know what I mean? The weight classes are separated, Russ, by like 10 pounds. And the low, yeah, go ahead.
It's stupid. I was about to say earlier when you were talking about the Robinson era, I'm for the fact that the weight classes we have in boxing are there. And I think when you only talk 5 pounds difference, but when you look at at a junior welterweight and a lightweight, well, you can really see the difference between a junior welterweight and a lightweight. You know, even if it's only the 5 pounds, you can see that. So I'm amazed that UFC. I'm more amazed that the commission allows these weight classes to happen and to have that disparity in the weight classes. The commission is supposed to be there for the safety and the security of the fighters, and for them to allow mixed martial arts or UFC or whoever makes up these rules have these differences in weight classes and say, nah, you guys got to stick some weight classes in between there. We would never accept that in boxing from a safety perspective, and a commission would never allow the weights to be that much different or make a guy, you know, I remember watching a video, I don't know who the person was, but they're literally carrying the person to the scale, trying to get him on, and the commissioner is waiting for them to get on the scale. It was in Vegas. They're waiting to get on the scale. And you're the commission. What do you mean you're allowing the guys to be carried to the scale? Like, this is crazy. They couldn't get him to stand, and they were still going to weigh him in. They're going to weigh him in. I don't know if it was a guy or a girl. They're going to weigh him in. It's insane. It's insane.
That one was a guy, and then there's another one with a girl.
She fell back.
She fell, like, everybody just stood there, and I'm like, she was obviously about to fall off to me, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, and she almost hit the back of her head on a pole, and then she still fought the next day.
Yeah. That's those kind of things. Those are some of the things in boxing that upset me, you know, or combat sports or whatever, the commission and their role. You know, they're more worried about how much Vaseline you put in the corner, where Vaseline has never injured any fighter in the history of boxing. But we're worried about how much Vaseline you put on because, you know, I've sat in corners where the inspector said, you got too much Vaseline. And then the other inspector says, oh, why'd you make him take the Vaseline? Oh, because if you have too much on, the punch just slips off. Yo, bro, let me put some Vaseline on the side of your face and punch you and see how much it slips off, okay? So, you know, like, this is stupid, right? It's stupid, you know, and we don't worry about the important things like people, you know, collapsing, trying to make weight.
Now, I do want to play this clip here. I'm going to play this audio, and then I want you guys' thoughts on this. This is Floyd Mayweather Jr. Talking about his Logan Paul fight. And I usually wouldn't talk about this fight, but it's just something he said that personally I had a personal issue with. But we'll talk about it. Let me go ahead and play this here for you guys.
My health is my wealth. Okay. I can tell you this. I quit when I wanted to quit. Right. I was in control of my career. You know, when fighters got to fight when they don't want to, that's not a good feeling. Mm-hmm. And then when Ali was active and he could communicate, he could talk with the people. You know, he was trash talking, shit talking. Everybody loved him. Right? All his people loved him. Right. And then the other side hated him. But then when he could barely walk or talk, then they want to say, oh, he great, oh, we love him. No, not me. Yeah. So no money is worth my health. No amount of money. But I'm still a smart businessman. Now we talk about a Logan Paul, a YouTuber, for $100 million. Give me that.
All right, so and this is, of course, you guys can check it out. Hoops Plug is the name of the channel. You guys want to check that out. Look, I'm not interested in the fight, but I don't care. I mean, Mayweather could do what he wants, obviously. You know what I mean? If he wants to make his money, go ahead. I don't have an issue with that. And it's been an accumulation of things. For some reason, anytime Mayweather's asked about where he rates himself all time or something like simple as this, like why Logan Paul, he always has to bring up Muhammad Ali's name. Every single time. Oh, Ali, he wasn't smart. He was against the ropes against he did the rope dope against Foreman. That's not smart. You know, just stuff like that. You know what I mean? Like he how good was he? He lost to a guy who was 7-0. You know, Ali's not even with us anymore. Like, can you just bring him up in a positive light? Can you not just say positive things about him? You know, because ironically, he's talking about people that didn't love him then, now they love him. Wow, how about you show him some love, Floyd? How about that? Like you know what I mean? Because you still ain't showing him love, in my opinion. And in my opinion, I don't think Floyd, this is my opinion, can hold a candle to Muhammad Ali's resume and impact in the sport of boxing and the world. Russ, I'll go to you first, man. What do you make about, Floyd Mayweather's comments there?
Well, what he said, I mean, I certainly understand that, he's cares about his health and whatnot. And he said, but he's not caring about the other guy's health because you say, okay, he's a YouTuber. He's not good. I'll kick the crap out of him. No problem. I don't care about his health, but I care about my health, So I'm going to take an overmatched, I'm going to take a guy into waters he's never even seen before and beat him. So, what's my comment on that? I think it's a sign of the times, my friend. I think this is what our world has come to. I think it's easy to bash people all the time. I was going to post this yesterday, and I said, I better not, but I'll let you guys go and watch it and tell me what you think. Maybe you've seen it. I don't know if any of you have ever watched the Muhammad Ali Dean Martin roast.
I think I did.
If you haven't watched that, go watch it and read the comments. There is so much political incorrectness in that entire thing from everybody, from Latinos, blacks, whites. I mean, just completely. And everybody was laughing their ass off and not one word of profanity in it. Okay? So this is the sign of the times. Now it just seems the place that we go to a weigh-in. It's mandatory that you 4-round fighters have to face off with each other and be talking to each other, yapping, and then someone has to push somebody, right? That's mandatory. That has to happen at a weigh-in. At every weigh-in, it's mandatory that the two camps have to come in between the two fighters, because, well, that sells tickets, Really? Is that the only reason this fight sells, is because two guys came at each other at the weigh-in? Garbage. I don't buy that crap for 1 second, but it's the sign of the time. So Mayweather and what he says is what this generation says. It's you make yourself feel good by degrading others, by, putting other people down. That's how you make yourself great. I don't agree with that. Ali went through his whole career without uttering. Show me, of all the talking Ali did, of all the clips there are of Ali, show me one clip where he uses profanity. One.
Never.
I've never seen it. That's
find a fighter today who in an interview on TV doesn't use profanity. It's ridiculous. And believe me, I swear as well often, but I understand where my place is, when it should be done, and how to conduct yourself. There's a time and place, and I don't. So this to me is just a sign of the times, brother, whether it's Mayweather or somebody else. McGregor said, that started with them guys, that famous saying, that McGregor did, who the F are you, and all that. It seems that the audience loves that. This youth love that crap. They don't want to hear about the science of boxing. They don't want to hear elevated humor. It's trash humor. It's easy humor. It's gutter humor. It's not real. It's not intelligent. It's not well thought of humor. Maybe that's just me because I'm older than all you guys, but maybe
no. No need to point it out again, Milcar. I'm just saying,
I mean, look, he's a legend in the city where I went to college. What can I say?
We got a caller, Milcar, still?
Yeah, we've got a caller, area code 386. You're on live with the Round Table and Mr. Russ Amber.
Yo, what's going on, people? How y'all doing?
Very good. Is this Major Key?
This is Major Key Boxing. What's going on?
Good, fam.
What's going on, brother? How you doing?
Chilling, brother. First and foremost, y'all got a guest that sounds like he's straight, like from the street that I grew up on, bro. Yo, this dude is nonstop, like the same way that I would be on the platform. Y'all already know. You know what I'm saying? So shout out to you, brother. You know what I'm saying? You bring the energy, and I feel that. I think everybody feels it. You know what I mean? It's so real right now. You know what I mean? So shout out. Yeah, shout out to you, brother, because that's what it's about. It's about engaging the crowd. You know what I'm saying? And you coming out and you just tell them the truth, and it doesn't matter. It is what it is. You know what I mean? When it comes to no, my pleasure, man. And then when it comes to the Pacquiao thing, though, right? Shit, man. We were just talking about this. You guys were talking about it. I mean, look, man. In reality, man, I got much respect for what people think. Well, hold on. Let me. There was a specific point that was made about Pacquiao, right? Just a little while ago. Can I hear that? Whoever said that about Pacquiao, can I hear that again? Just so I can respond to that.
So, because I'm not sure, we said a lot of things about Pacquiao.
There's a lot of points.
For the most part, I mean, we did say that it's he's got nothing to lose. I don't know if that's what you're talking about.
You're talking about maybe putting him ahead of Mayweather if he was to beat Spence.
Yeah, but we said so many things, brother, that if we go over everything, we're going to run out of time. Go ahead.
Thank you, brother. Yes. That's exactly what I was trying to talk about. The Mayweather thing. Right?
Okay.
So look, I got mad respect for Mayweather, bro. I got mad respect, but I was just talking about this to a couple of platforms this weekend. And here's the whole thing that I have, man. Look, first and foremost, look, Mayweather versus Manny Pacquiao is one thing, right? Which me personally, I'm talking about an 8-weight class division person, 4-decade champion, first of his class, right? First of his class with the 8-weight division, by the way, also. He held, 5 lineal championships, first of his class, right? He's done so many things. And then, right, we're talking about that versus Mayweather, but then we're literally talking about, can he stand up to Sugar Ray Robinson and stuff like that? You know what I mean? Where they had 15 rounders, but, were they the same level of competition and stuff like that? So these are different conversations going on. So when you talk about Mayweather, that he's about to fight Logan Paul, right? And you're talking about Pacquiao about to fight Errol Spence Jr., right? Yeah. Like I don't even have them in the same category, bro. Like, you know what I mean? Like it's not even the same category. And I love myself some Floyd Mayweather. Don't get it wrong, but I gotta be honest with everybody. Floyd Mayweather just going out for the money, bro. He's not looking for legend. He's looking for money. So if anybody's trying to say that he's looking for some kind of legendary cap on his shoulder, this is fake. It's not true. Manny Pacquiao's looking for legendary. He's not looking for legendary. He's just looking for money. That's why he's Money Mayweather. That's why he went from pretty boy to money. Because he's looking for money. He's not looking for any kind of legend right now. Pacquiao is still doing that.
Yeah, I mean, I agree.
That's all I gotta say, man.
Look, Major Key, I agree. Look, Mayweather's last real fight was against Andre Berto. That was followed up with a fight against Conor McGregor, which was followed up by essentially, a flyweight kickboxer in an exhibition in Japan, Tenshin. And now he's fighting a guy who's 0-1 in pro boxing, and the one loss was against a video game playing YouTuber. I mean, how can you compare that to what Pacquiao's been doing the last 4 years? A guy who's coming off a major win against the former world champion in Keith Thurman. So, yeah, I agree.
Gentlemen, I think, though, the question we have to ask ourselves here is, if any of you had the opportunity to do what Mayweather's doing, and somebody's going to pay you that kind of money for a guaranteed win where you will not get a hair on your head touched, and you'll get that kind of money, every one of you would take that opportunity.
Absolutely.
That's but here's the difference between Ali and Mayweather, which is kind of what D-Style started out with. Ali could have made millions if he just took literally a do-nothing military position, entertaining the troops. He would have kept his title. No, but I'm just saying he stood up for something.
No, but I get that.
That's completely. That is humanity and character at another level. Don't even forget.
Yes. But to your point, Russ, yes, I would definitely take that money. There's no doubt.
Would take it. And if you were Logan Paul, if you were in Logan Paul's position, every one of you would take the millions and you take a slap in the face from Mayweather, you would take the insult, you'll take a few punches, and you'll get the check. Every one of you would do what Logan Paul is.
But Russ, would you do that if you had $500 million in the bank and had a legacy of one of the greatest fighters of all times?
Me, no. But other people are driven. Listen, me, I wouldn't. But you know what? I've got a collection of 160 pool cues because I love playing pool. So like everybody has their thing, okay? But my point is, the question we have to ask ourselves is, how did we get to the point where we can sell this, that people are buying this to pay for these guys? That's the question we have to ask ourselves as a society, as fans. That's the danger here. Not Mayweather cashing in. Every one of you would do it. Not Logan Paul cashing in. Every one of you would do it. But how many times have we had fights where, you couldn't sell, you couldn't give away tickets for it? Say, nah, you can't make that match. Commissions tell you, nah, we don't accept that match. No, it's not good. And say, oh, who wants to see that fight? But
I agree. Well, just to add to your point, Russ, to add to your point, I mean, this is the same society that rewarded some little girl that was on Dr. Phil and told her mom or somebody in the crowd, right? Meet me outside. How about that? Like, and that she became like a multimillionaire now. Like,
but here's the difference, though, D-Style. Joe, I'll go me quick because
I got to get in here because I got to say
something. But here's the difference, right? Okay, do that. Go out and get the money, get the bag, sell yourself out, ruin your legacy. There's a guy who's put in beard implants and hair implants and is like chasing around the guy for taking his hat off. Whatever, you want to do that, that's fine. But then don't compare yourself to Muhammad Ali in a way that makes Muhammad Ali look anything less than what Muhammad Ali is as a representation and was as a fighter. So I'll just leave it at that for now. Joe.
Well, look, he can get his money and keep Muhammad Ali's name out of his mouth. That's for sure. You know what I mean? I'll agree with that all day. But hey, Mayweather, if you need an opponent, I'm all for it. I'll get embarrassed for a little bit. But go ahead, B.
I just got to say this: if I had $500 million in the bank, I would be doing other things. I would be opening up businesses. I wouldn't be doing there's a lot of ways to make money. I would take my 500,000 and I would turn that into $1 billion. Like what Magic Johnson, what did Magic Johnson and Shaquille O'Neal do? They're opening up businesses. Russ, I don't want to be a contrarian here, but if I was in his situation, that's what I would do. I wouldn't be doing this because I couldn't deal with the embarrassment. People were laughing at him right now, and he wants to do it. That's fine. I don't care if he does it or not. I'm not judging him. But I'm laughing at him when I'm seeing a guy take his hat off, and I'm looking at those hair plugs, and I'm looking at all this. I'm laughing at him. I'm not laughing with him. So if that's me, I don't know if I want someone to laugh at me. I don't know if I would do that for $100 million. I would take my 500,000 and I would turn it into $1 billion. I would do what Shaq did, what Magic did. I'd be opening up movie theaters, businesses. I'd be putting money in my community. I'd be helping kids. I'd be opening up boys clubs. I'd be doing what LeBron James is doing. That's what I'd be doing.
Me too, Joe. That would be my thing.
So I'm not so sure I would take that $100 million.
And the reason I can confidently say me too is because I did it with no money. So imagine if I had money, what I would do, if I could do that. And to this day, my company, we sponsor boxing clubs. We've got 5 boxing clubs that we sponsor in North America. And these aren't like fitness centers or profit organizations. They are pure old school amateur boxing clubs where people have day jobs and they go to the gym at night and teach boxing, and they take their kids on trips and they go to tournaments. We support that. So I'm with you, Joe. I would do the same thing. The point of this was you don't have to agree with what he's doing, but the question is, how is he able to do it? That bothers me more. Yeah. That him and Logan Paul are even able to do this. That the four of us, who I think are pretty passionate about boxing, are wasting what few years I have in my life left. I'm wasting these few sands of the hourglass talking about this, okay? That's a problem in our society.
It's time you're never going to get back either. That's
right.
10 minutes of your life you're never going to get back.
Never.
Now, I do want to switch gears here to our final topic here, and this is about Eddie Hearn. Right now,
that's serious stuff.
Absolutely. But here's what Eddie Hearn did. First of all, Eddie Hearn got permission by the WBO. Okay, they said, okay, we'll hold off on Usyk's mandatory if you fight for undisputed. Right now, we all know that fight's not going to happen now. At least not next. Okay, that's number one. Eddie Hearn was going around doing interviews saying, "Oh, we have options. We have Usyk. We have." Like he was talking like he has all these options, even though, and then immediately, not surprising, WBO came out and said, "Nah, you got to fight Usyk." Right? I think that's the fight to make if he's the mandatory, and you're not going to fight Fury. Fury's going to be fighting Wilder. Right? My question to the panel is: does Eddie Hearn want that fight for Joshua? Is Usyk a sleeper here, and someone could play a spoiler for Eddie Hearn? Right, Maestro. Let me start with you. What do you think?
Well, I think you know what I think on this because I've shared it before, but I'm definitely going to say it again. I think Usyk is definitely a problem for Joshua. He's one of the most talented fighters in the world. He was undisputed at the cruiserweight division, Olympic gold medalist. He's done everything a boxer can do in the sport of boxing as an amateur and as a pro. Now he's moving up to heavyweight. He's testing himself at heavyweight. People say he hasn't looked that good at heavyweight. They cite the Chisora fight. I don't think he actually looked that bad against Chisora. I think he did a good job at taking Chisora's punches. Chisora's a very big man. I've stood side by side with him. He's a very big man. He's not the tallest guy, but he's a super large individual. He's got a lot of strength, and he's got a very aggressive style, and I thought that he did very well against it in Usyk. Now, AJ, I think, should be favored against Usyk just because of the size, all right, and his athleticism. But
and he's the heavyweight champion of the world.
And he's, yes, along with Tyson Fury, for sure. Yeah, absolutely. But I've seen enough kinks in his armor against Carlos Takam, against Joseph Parker, and I've seen a big change in AJ's style since the big fight at Wembley against Vladimir Klitschko. He's become much more defensive, much more cautious. Even his last fight, I thought if he had really gone for it, he could have gotten Pulev up out of there like in the third round. But, you know, Pulev lasted with him for a lot longer. And Pulev is nowhere near as good as Usyk and is quite a lot older than him. So I think AJ should be favored. Russ, you're absolutely right. He's the heavyweight champ. But I do think it's a competitive fight. And I don't think it's a fight that Eddie Hearn would have gone to first ahead of a Fury fight because anything can happen. And that includes getting cut, for instance. And literally anything can happen.
What do you think, Russ? Do you think Hearn wants this fight?
I don't know. I'm not maybe in a great position to speak because I work with Usyk. So I might not be the guy to speak on what the business end of this is all about. But I'll agree with Maestro is that I'm telling you, we're going to be ready for this, you know, and don't sleep on Usyk. I'm watching some of the comments come up and they come up and disappear. A lot of people thinking that Usyk has no shot, blah, 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 blah. Listen, Usyk is as big as Muhammad Ali was. Okay, Usyk's as big as Larry Holmes was. You know, he's 6'3", he's solid. You know, if anything, the thing that he might have going against him is inexperience. You know, and that he didn't pursue a career at heavyweight. You know, there's going to be a certain time to build into that weight class. But I don't think size is the problem in this fight. He's a big man. He's a big, strong man. Believe me.
I just so you know, there's a little on the screen where it says comments. Like you could actually see everyone's comments there if you want to take a look at what people are saying about Usyk. You know, some people actually do think he has a shot. Some think they don't. But but to add to your point, though, I mean, look, Chisora is like a big dude, like, you know, and I think he did just fine. And the criticism was, oh, he doesn't have power. Look, he couldn't stop Chisora. First of all, I think I saw him hurt Chisora late in that fight. That's number one. Second, Vitaly Klitschko didn't stop Chisora. Like, what does that even mean?
Yeah.
You know, well, what do you want? Like, it's not. Who's like really stopped Chisora? I think Fury, but that was an accumulation. That wasn't like a one-punch knockout.
David,
I
the
think
only one that got him like clean. That David Hay. That's about. Oh, and Dillian White. But yeah,
and David Hay was a monster puncher. So
you gotta hit him with a one-hitter quitter to get him out of there. You're not gonna beat him out of there. You gotta hit him with a good one shot. That one shot would knock out anybody. The shots that he got knocked out with, those one shots, the one from David Hay and the one from Dillian White, those 2 shots would have knocked out anyone, in my opinion.
Absolutely.
And the first fight against Dillian was a war.
Yeah, I thought he won. I thought Chisora won that fight.
That's right.
I'll be honest.
He was winning. I thought he was winning the rematch too. Before
he really was.
Referee's
my
name,
opinion.
John. Forget his name, but the black English referee.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about. Yeah,
he took too many points away from him for no reason, and got Chisora in a mode where he felt he was losing the fight, where it was actually still ahead on the scorecards, and Chisora started taking unnecessary risks and opened himself up. He was winning that fight against Dillian White.
Yeah.
Yeah. And by the way, for those saying, I saw some comments saying, I don't know why Usyk moved up. He could have been there and dominated cruiserweight. Well, I mean, I don't know if you guys thought about this. Maybe he wants to challenge himself. Maybe he wants to be the heavyweight champion of the world.
Well, there's 2 things to that. He just won the tournament. He just beat all the best guys. So who are you going to make any money with after you've already just beaten everybody? You got all the belts. Who are you going to sit around waiting for a prospect to rise up and come up? You can. So he's going to challenge himself. You know, it's a great thing that he wants to do that. No one is ever going to take away the fact that, you know, him and Holyfield right now are the 2 greatest cruiserweights of all time, you know, and now he's moving up to fight in the heavyweight division the same way that Holyfield did. So you can't knock the guy for that. He's fighting a real dude. He's fighting the heavyweight champion of the world. You know, like, give this guy the credit, man, that he deserves. You know, let him go out. So he gets beat. Okay, he could beat. No problem. It happens. Somebody wins, somebody loses in boxing, but he dares to try. We should be encouraging that kind of stuff, not degrading it.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, a lot of people saying that he's look, I understand that this era is like these heavyweights are big now. I get that, right? Which brings me to this, Russ, just kind of the WBC had announced that they were going to do like a new weight class, bridger weight. I don't know if they went along with it or not, like at 225. Are you in favor for that? Like, is that something you would like to see or no?
I mean, I think it's going to give certain fighters an opportunity to fight for a title. You know, there's going to be certain guys that'll fight for that. Is it something that we feel is necessary? Like, has there been cases in fights where you say, oh my God, the guy weighed 225, but the guy he fought was 245. Man, if my guy was 245, he'd have won. We need a title at 225. I don't think we've seen a need for it. I don't think there's been situations that prompted a decision had to be made. Say, guys, look, these guys, if everybody was 300 pounds, if everybody was like Jarrell Miller, right? Everybody winning, knocking guys out, crushing guys, boom, big guys, 300 pounds. And then you got a guy 225, you might say, well, this might start not to be so good if these guys are really big and good. But I'm not sure that we've reached that point that you need to have that. And I think that Alexander Usyk will prove that we might not need that weight class. So we'll see. Even if he doesn't win, I think he'll prove we don't need the weight class.
Russ, do you think they should have a weight limit in heavyweight like they do in the UFC where a fighter can't weigh more than 265, or you think that's not needed in boxing?
Why is 265 the magic number? You know,
I don't know. I'm just
that's a good question.
That's what I was trying to figure out.
Russ, I don't know.
I was hoping you were going to tell me what.
Well, I think for UFC, the reason it would have to be is because of the grappling on the ground. You know,
that
you
makes
body
sense.
slam a guy. You know, like when Hulk Hogan body slammed. You know, when King Kong Bundy or whatever. You know, the big difference. You know, picking a big guy up, right? But
Andre the Giant too.
Andre
Scooped up the big
right?
Andre.
So I think that there's a difference maybe in UFC, but in boxing, I don't see it. The one thing I will say is that in the past, every time those guys that were 250, 260, 255. It came around. All the big guys, they were never really good. You know, they weren't good. They didn't have good skill set. They weren't. But little by little, that's changed now, you know, and I think that started really with Lennox and the Klitschko's. Like, I knew Lennox when Lennox was just a middleweight. He was an amateur. He weighed 154 pounds. Wow. That's why he boxed so good, because he didn't learn to box when he was a heavyweight. He learned to box before he was a heavyweight. So he had all those same moves that he used to do as a small kid, right? And he just grew into that massive frame that he had. So the fighters today are getting good. And you look at guys like Tyson Fury, big guy with a lot of ability. Joshua's got a great skill set. The Klitschko's, goes without saying, have the style they brought. The big guys are now getting good. You know, they're good. They're not just big guys anymore, you know? So, I mean, I still don't think we need a 225 division, but
you're right. Because I tweeted out, I think it was like a month ago or so, I was watching Goofy Whitaker against Jamil McCline. And it's like, yeah, there were smaller heavyweights that would have just destroyed those guys. It's not just about size, right, Russ? It's also about skills. Otherwise, you get every college basketball reject becoming heavyweight champion of the world.
Yeah, that's right. And you know what? If you look back and you look at somebody like Larry Holmes and, you know, Jerry Cooney, who I respect immensely and I think doesn't get enough credit for how good he was, but, you know, the overall skill and talent of Larry Holmes was just too much for him, despite the size difference that he possessed and despite the punching power and size difference he possessed. So the science of boxing still prevailed, you know, and it's not only about size. And I hope the same thing will come true for Alexander Usyk.
Well said. Well said. Hey, Russ, the time went by quick. We definitely enjoyed having you on. Before you go, though, let everyone know, we had a couple people saying like, oh man, I wish Russ had a channel, but you already have a podcast. So let everybody know where they could find you, you know, on social media and about your show. Well,
my social media is Instagram and Twitter, and it's just my name as it's spelt there. So it's really easy. And I do have a podcast that I do. It's called Calling Russ Amber. We don't do it live like you guys are doing now, which I don't know what the technology is. I have to ask my producer about how you guys do that. But we don't do it. We don't do it live. But it goes up on YouTube. You just have to put in Calling Russ Amber, and I think we've done 30 episodes so far. So we'll just recap the week of fights. As a matter of fact, I'm recording in 15 minutes right after I finish here with you guys. But I want to take this chance to thank you for having me. And this is really great. You guys are great boxing connoisseurs, and I'd love to talk boxing with you. So if you ever do this again, I'd be happy to do it.
Oh, thanks so much.
Joe, you're Lebanese?
Half Lebanese, yes.
You can't hide the Habib. Yeah.
Cannot hide it. You know what my name means in Arabic? Love.
Love, yeah. Habibi. Yeah.
Okay.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
I don't know anything about that stuff.
I'm Lebanese. I know.
Oh, well, there you go. There you go.
Wow.
Yeah.
Great.
So, guys, it was great being with you. I really appreciate it, and I'll look forward to it again. Maestro, see you on Twitter.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Russ. Appreciate it.
Thank you, D-Style. Thanks, guys.
Definitely, man. Thanks for coming on, Russ.
Thanks, man. Bye-bye.
Hey, Russ Hammer, man. Great guy. Great guy. You know what I mean? Beeb, I still have the question for you, though. Does Eddie Hearn want to fight?
You know, it's crazy. It seems like there's a little bit of uncertainty on whether he wants it or not, because before they were saying we're never going to vacate any of these belts. Our goal is to become undisputed. Now I'm hearing talk that they may let the WBO belt go. Now I'm even hearing them say that there's a concern about how much money Usyk wants for this fight. Is it worth for them to pay him out this money? I'm at a loss here. It looks like he doesn't want the fight by his actions. Looks like that he may not want this fight, and I don't know why. I just don't know why.
Let me tell you something, man. If I'm the WBO, and I already told you, I'm going to give you one pass, and that's to fight Fury, And then you go out and you're like, oh, I have all these options. Like no, you don't have all these options.
All of a sudden they're talking like this, and they were all about Undisputed forever. Now it doesn't matter anymore. All right.
Yeah. Plus, do you think? Are you guys, concerned that we might be getting farther from Undisputed if they vacate the WBO?
Well, this is my position, and we've had discussions on this. Undisputed is a status. So if Fury and Joshua fight, the winner of that fight, in my opinion, I would consider them undisputed. Now, technically, your point was, having all the belts. I'm not going to argue against that if someone believes that either. But there are going to be people out there that look at Undisputed as a designation, as a title in itself. It's a status. So we'll see.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, we want to give a shout out to Russ. And as you guys heard him, he's got to go record his stuff. It's called StreamYard Russ. Like I think he would have a great show if he did it live, to be honest with you.
100%. Absolutely.
Yeah. So like Russ don't need to be edited. Like he just doesn't, bro. But great stuff either way. I love his podcast. So shout out to him. You guys could always go back, man. It's all an archive. You know what I mean? We talked about the Linares Haney. That was the first thing we talked about as soon as Russ came on. So you can get Russ's Abner's opinion about that and everything. And of course, Maestro will be going live right now on his channel.
Yep, I'm creating the broadcast right now, and I'm going to drop the link in about 20 seconds.
There you go. So you guys are able to, if you want to join us to continue the discussion, for anybody that wants to, go ahead. But this is the 12th and the final round. Joe Habib, Joe Habib, touch gloves. You know what I mean? And, the floor is yours. 2 minutes. You can say whatever you want. Okay, Plug in whatever you want. Go ahead.
We lost one fight, which I knew we were going to lose. And I know Emil Carr knew we were going to lose this too, because, we're not naive people. But we gained two more. We gained Wilder Fury 3. And we gained Spence Pacquiao. So, you lose one, you gain two. So 2 for 1 here. Can't be too angry about it. I think boxing's looking up. I think the COVID restrictions are going to be lifted pretty soon around the country. I know my state's going to be lifted on June 15th. I don't have to wear a mask starting Saturday. So things are looking up. And I think boxing is only going to get better. We saw that, once Vegas, we know that they're going to be open June 2nd. So once that was, let known to the public, that's when we started getting these big fight announcements. And I think hopefully there's going to be more of those to come moving forward. So I'm very optimistic, and I'm happy that boxing's back finally.
That's right. All right. And make sure you tune in to Ringside Reporter every Sunday with Eric and the Beeb. All that good stuff, man. Great podcast. Make sure you guys check that one out. Maestro, it is the 12th and final round. Touch gloves. Floor is yours.
Yeah, look, pleasure to have Russ Amber on the show with us. I've been a big fan of his for a really long time. He's worked as a trainer, head trainer of guys, like I said, Howard Grant, David Lemieux, who he started his career with Russ Amber. He's worked as a cut man. He's literally a legend in Montreal, head of Rival boxing gear and apparel. He's just a great guy. As you guys can see, he gives his time to people like us, and he's passionate about boxing. So I think this was a fantastic show, and I'm hoping to have Russ on with us again at some point. He said he'd do it, so hopefully he will. And I'm heading over to overtime. I'm going to pick it up right where we left off, talking about Eddie Hearn, Usyk, Joshua, Fury, and Wilder. So I'll be heading over there. Hope to see you guys over there now. I will talk to all of you guys here later. Take care.
That's right. Maestro, you know what I mean? With that said, I want to make sure everyone understands. Shout out to from Anali to AHDZ, Blood Boxing, Zone out there, the GOAT, the Positive Focus. All of you, for all your opinions, your thoughts, disagreements, it's all good. For Brian and Glenn who called in. This is D-Style Boxing. Go ahead and go to Maestro's channel. The link is... he did post the link there. So go to Maestro, subscribe, all that good stuff. Beeb, have a good one, brother.
I'll talk to you. Be good.
D-Style Boxing. Keep it boxing. We're out of here. Peace.